Okay, dear Venerable Sister, Dhamma friends, so we have come to the second Dhamma discussion of this Kalalgoda month of July retreat. So Chandrika is back and ready with some written questions. So we are going to start the session with written questions.
Avasara Bhante, we have got 10 reports today. Okay. Report number 1. Dear Venerable Bhante, sitting meditation. Sitting down, I noticed how the mind goes into a more detached, calm observation state by itself. Even when I wanted to observe the breath, as I normally do in the beginning, mind rather wanted to stay in the calm, more detached mode. So I let it happen. Here I noticed how different sense objects like sounds, body sensations and thoughts came to the mind. When they were subtle, the mind didn't go along with them, and I was just calmly aware. When a sense object was more strong, especially thoughts, I noticed mind grasping them, taking more time to let go again. After 5 to 10 minutes, I noticed how, in general, mind attaches more to sense objects again, once also with mind wandering. After another 5 to 10 minutes, I found the mind in a more detached mode again. When the mind was more attached, I noticed it is more likely that drowsiness arises. At times when the mind was more attached, I noticed it is more likely that drowsiness arises. 2 times when this happened and I noticed it and let go, like a slide pushed went from the back to the fore of my eyes and drowsiness was gone. Drowsiness was gone. Again, there was a state of more detached, calm and alert mode of mind. Like this, I practiced for 1 hour, hardly with any effort. In the end, I felt relaxed and alert. When going to daily activities from here, I noticed more details like touching of the feet or hands when opening the door, the smell of food coming out from the meditation hall, etc.
Meditation hall. So may I know who has written it? Yeah, I felt okay, good. So this is something that we come across time to time, because when you are observing various phenomena, so the mind gains some amount of understanding and it can lead to a kind of a detached mood in the mind. So that is something that being grown as a result of the practice. You know that when we see things as they truly are, so one impact of that is mind slowly start become detached of it, not interested about it. But purposely we find interest and recognize various features, how it behaves, how different phenomena behaves, and as a result of that, slowly mind, after understanding, it starts sort of detaching the thing. I feel you can just continue the typical investigation what you are doing, and as you are doing this, more and more this detachment may further cultivate, and then you can simply dwell in that detached mood. So that is where the, very much like as we discussed, various sounds are there, sights are there, tangibles are there, many things are there, but mind has the capacity to not attach to anything and just dwell in the middle like thing. So if you are, it seems like you are reaching that state. Sometimes we call it as choiceless awareness. So many things are there, but you are not choosing anything. You are not giving any preference to anything. You have the ability to just stay in the middle without attaching to anything. So slowly, it seems like you are reaching this state. So, whatever the typical investigation that you are doing is the one actually giving this kind of an ability to the mind. Because more you understand, more you investigate, you understand their true nature, their real nature, and as a result of that, the detachment slowly growing in the mind. So just continue the practice. I don't think there is any change to be done. So it's a continuation, and more you continue, more you observe these different phenomena, how they behave, etc., so more will be the detachment. Yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure now if that state is there, and you said if I just dwell in it and let it be, or if I still intentionally go to an object and observe.
Yeah. If
Second.
If the mind is capable of, without attaching to anything, just dwell in the middle. Now you don't need to push it.
Yeah.
But assume that now it is again get attached to something.
Yeah, okay.
Now as you mentioned, now
I
time
see.
to time you
totally.
mentioned that again it goes and it forgets about this capability. Again the usual trend, usual temptation, it happens into the mind. Again go and grasp with things. At that moment you need to do the proper investigation to what actually this fellow again has grasped. Now you are kind of teaching the mind. Okay, it's not a worth attachment. Nothing is worthy of attaching.
Yes.
So sabbe dhamma nalang abhinivesaya. So Buddha mentioned, so there is nothing worthy of attachment, nothing worthy of adherence. So but our mind, even though Buddha says that we can't still believe it, we can't still understand it, so we continuously do the attachment, we continuously do the enjoyment, engagements and all these things. So our mind has to be taught again and again. So what you are attaching is like this, what you are attaching is like this, it has this kind of behavior, it has this kind of behavior. It's a kind of an education process. So more it become more aware of that, understanding, wise, then slowly the detachment arises. So if it naturally go and attach, at that moment it's your duty to see a little bit of investigation, do a little bit of investigation and see what are the sort of consequences, what are the kind of turbulence there, how it is arising and passing, how it is changing, how kind of a suffering there, and it is non-governable. So those kind of characteristics, the more you investigate, you will further understand. Then that the tendency to grasp become less and less. So now mind is growing another kind of a skill where, typically it is programmed in a way to grasp. Whenever a beautiful thing is there, it is grasping, holding, I want it. But now we are developing another skill that it has the capacity to be alone, without attaching to anything. Going the opposite. Yeah. Going against the grain. Yeah. Good. Yeah, please, you can come to the mic. That's the punishment.
Bhante, in that investigation, you have to be very careful and very specific that you don't go only in prapancha.
No, investigation is has to be free from prapancha at all. Definitely. Because here the investigation is where you do a very silent observation.
Yeah.
So it is not that you are thinking.
Yeah, not thinking.
Right. But rather we basically quieten the mind. Now it has become more silent, stilled, but that mind is very curious about what's really going on. So that's the investigation we are talking here. Not that we are thinking about it and imagining about it. That's not the same.
Yeah, you have to be very specific about. Yeah.
Definitely. So that's the proper Vipassana, no? The proper, say, experiential knowledge, bhavana me jnana. So we are talking about that side. Say, where it is not the contemplative knowledge, like chinta me jnana, that you think and logically, rationally understand things. But here what we do is where you calm down the mind, relax the mind, quieten the mind, and inner chatter is fairly calmed down, almost absence-like.
Absent.
Yeah. Now you do the investigation.
Yeah. Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah.
Report number 2, Theruvan Saranai Bhante. Today I focused on walking meditation in the Valley Maluva. I observed the arising and passing away of feelings, Vedana. I also saw the pleasant, unpleasant and neutral types of Vedana arising and passing away at the soles of the feet. I also observed the Patavi Dhatu, earth element of hardness and softness arising due to contact with the feet. I observed how the perception of different types of stones was sensed, the small, medium, large stones, the rough and the smooth to touch. As I was walking, I heard the sound of people talking. I observed how a feeling of dislike automatically arose with that ear contact. I recall that the previous feeling with regards to the ear was neutral or equanimous, and it had now changed to dislike, viparinama dukkha. I observed how the mind wanted to find more details about that sound and seemed to urge the eyes to look up to identify the source of the sound. The eyes looked up and saw the wall construction workers chatting away. I observed another feeling of dislike arise with the eye contact. I observed how it was first a feeling of dislike that arose with the ear contact, then another feeling of dislike with the eye contact. I observed how the mind wanted to kick into gear to do mental proliferation based on the ear and eye contact inputs. Next, I heard the sounds of a spoon stirring inside a mug. It gave rise to a pleasant Vedana feeling. I sensed the mind start to crave for a hot drink and started proliferating to give reasons to leave the Velimalua to get that drink. I succumbed to the craving and fed myself a hot drink. I felt slight disappointment in myself for giving in. Question: Bhante, it is easy to observe the arising of tanha, stroke craving, with a pleasant sensation, and for me also with regards to equanimous, stroke neutral feeling. But how do you identify tanha with regards to unpleasant sensations? Please advise. Theruvan Saranai.
Okay, good. May I know who has written it? Okay, yeah, good. So basically, now you know that there are three types of craving. So the first one is the sensual desire, kama tanha. The other one is the desire to become. We are currently in the present moment, you are not happy, but you need to change yourself. You need to attach to something, you need to become someone or become something like that. And then the other thing is to desire to get rid of, where you want to get out of something. So you are not happy, that's you want to get out of something. So as you have properly observed, where say when the situation is unpleasant, so that the desire comes in a way to go out of it, go away from it. So that is also a desire. So we are not bearing the situation, we are not patient about the situation, but I want to come out of it, I want to get out of it. There may be a better situation than this. So why should I stay here? I better go there. Something like that. Yeah.
It's like an indirect kind of way.
Indirect, yeah. So actually this bhavatanha and vibhavatanha are very much like the two sides of the same coin. So where you want to become something else and you want to get out of the present thing, whatever you are going through. So it's very, very much like entangled, very much like connected, interconnected. And what you desire, maybe some sensual desire is even. So these are fairly interconnected. So assume that you are not happy with the present moment. Assume that it is hot. And so you want to get out of this. So what your desire is to have a very pleasant, very calm, comfortable, conditioned environment. And that is the desire to become. So when you are experiencing that, so it may be a sensual desire also, how you are implementing that. So even these typically we call as kama tanha, bhava tanha, vibhava tanha. So these three are fairly interconnected. So one is supporting the other one. And your observation is very correct. And the other thing is you can recognize how, as you correctly mentioned, how feeling conditions craving. Vedana pacca tanha. So whenever we come across, when we are going through any kind of a pleasant feeling, pleasurable feeling, that generates a certain kind of a desire. So I want it, I want to have it, I want it tomorrow also, I like it. So that kind of a little urge coming within the mind, a little bit of tanha, a little bit of craving. So if we are able to recognize that, so that's a good point of understanding, Patissamuppada, that the principle. So this is one very interesting example or a very interesting link for us to understand Patissamuppada. The other link is the Vedana, Passapacca Vedana. So the contact causes feeling. And this is the other one, feeling causes craving. So if it is a pleasant feeling, we may get the either sensual desire or either desire to become. If it is a painful feeling, we get the desire to get out of it. So Vipassana. Yeah. So continue. Yeah, doing good. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Report number 3. Dear Bhante, when trying to calm my mind, it tend to find myself having conversations in my mind, arguments, plans, discussions. How do I tune those out and bring myself back to the moment?
So it seems like you need to completely tune to the another channel, that's the body channel. That would be more easier than struggling with the thoughts to change it. That is one option actually, what is available. So actually your approach is also possible if you are sort of, you know how to replace. So many methods are available. Now say there is a certain kind of thoughts are going on, and if you recognize those thoughts are harmful or it is promoting various desires in me. So one option is to switch to something else, another subject, kind of a replacement technique. So that is also possible. But for that to happen, I mean, you have to have some amount of command. So you have to completely push aside the existing thoughts and you need to replace it with some another kind of a topic, another kind of stream of thoughts, which is more, or which is less harmful in a way. Suppose you are thinking something harmful, maybe hateful thoughts. Now you are replacing that with loving kindness, maybe kind of lovable thoughts. So it's less harmful in a way. One possibility. The other thing is that you can look at the consequences. So what are the repercussions? So if I am continuously thinking these kind of, say, bad thoughts, unwholesome thoughts, what would happen to me? What would happen? I mean, what am I going to do in the future? I may get into an argument. So likewise, you can see the future, or you can see the danger, disadvantages of this way of thinking. And the other thing is you can look at the beginning of these things. Say, rather than simply get caught with these different streams of thoughts, how it has arisen, what it caused. So like the previous report mentioned, so it may be the triggered by what you have seen. So you have seen something and it is the cause, immediate cause, very much like triggered these kind of thoughts. Or it may be a kind of a sound, which is the one triggered these kind of thoughts. So we are going a little bit against the grain, rather than simply being victimized to the thinking. Now we are going and finding out the roots. So like that, different techniques are there. But the thing is, for you to do this, you need to have a little bit of command to your mind. So you need to have a fair amount of mindfulness and understand different thoughts correctly, and to have a certain impact, volitional impact to the mind, so that you can change the way of thinking. So such kind of a skill has to be developed. Another possibility is, as I mentioned, is to change the channel. That is to keep your attention to the body. Because thinking is going on, so you can't immediately attack that. You can't immediately confront it. So just if you get these kind of thoughts while walking, so how about keeping your attention onto the sensation? Say body is walking, but mind is thinking. But now I am not still skillful enough to handle that directly. So what I am doing is, now my foot is touching the ground. So there's a very good invitation for me to keep my attention there. So now I am paying attention to the body sensation. As a result of that, my feeding of thoughts, story, become less. So I am not much interested about that, but I am interested about this new sensation, which is a kind of a tangible, gross kind of a sensation. And again, next foot is touching the ground. So again, I have some job there. So that is the kammatthana. So the mula kammatthana means, primary object means, as much as possible, we are supposed to associate that object. So mind has to be occupied with that object. So more we associate that object, we are not giving enough energy to this thinking, storytelling. So then it becomes weaker and weaker. So it's a kind of a technique. But later time, probably you can directly confront thinking as well. For that you need certain amount of already developed mindfulness, fair amount of clear comprehension, so that you can recognize what's going on really. So those skills has to be available for you to do the mental part, direct confrontation part. Yeah.
Report number 4. Dear Bhante, it was a day that I practiced sati to a satisfactory level. Restraining from all type of conversation is key to development of mind. I totally felt it. I practiced Chittanupassana. I could see myself how much prominence I have given to a certain incident that provoked anger, dvesha, in my mind. How many a time I have replayed it through thoughts, and I managed to wash off all angry thoughts by generating metta truthfully to my own heart. I always make it a great opportunity to practice Satipatthana when I am in Kalalgoda. I brought the mind to see arising and passing, ativim, nativim of all thoughts.
Good. So that is what we need to do. So if we are able to looking at thoughts as thoughts, so we typically don't do that. We immediately attach it to a person, attribute it to a person, and I am get angry, and he has done something wrong. Why he did that? So he's a bad person. Blah blah blah. So, but these are merely thoughts. So if I am able to look at them properly, keeping them in their proper perspective, proper place, then I am in a good position. So I am the one making them a kind of a devil. So it's a mere thought. So if you are able to look at them at that way, then of course they lose their captivity, they lose their, say, the strength. They become merely thoughts. And as you have done, you are changing the subject, you are developing metta, that's another technique. But later, so when assume that the thoughts are coming, the angry thoughts are coming, are you capable of, or aren't you capable of looking at them merely as thoughts? Do you really need metta to replace? Or can't you simply see how an angry thought arises, and how, if you are not participating to it, if you are not adding a story to it, if you are not adding a person to it, how it naturally goes away? I mean, the thought goes away. So very interesting technique is there. For you to understand, an angry thought also has to come. So you have to thank that person also, who caused the arising of the angry thought. So if you are able to look at angry thought as an angry thought, maybe lustful thought as a lustful thought, and how it behaves, how it's showing itself, and if I am simply step back and watching it without participating, without getting deluded by that, so these thoughts have their nature to go away. So that is one kind of a law, a universal law. So all the thoughts have their nature to pass away, appear and then disappear, arise and pass away. So we are the ones feeding them, we are the ones strengthening them, we are the ones making them to a different thing. Then they start swallowing us. They start, governing us, overwhelming us. Because we add so many things. We do a lot of fabrications, we do a lot of multiplications. But the moment we stop that, the moment we avoid participation, simply step back, simply allow things to happen, but mindful, so then they have their nature to come and go. And ultimately you can even develop certain wisdom about it. So that's why the beauty, in the Dhammanupassana Nissarana Pabba. So Nissarana, the hindrances are being used to develop wisdom. You can see the trick in a way. Now, Nissaranas are typically considered as defilements. But when you see their true nature, you arise wisdom by seeing their true nature. How previously there was no Nissarana, there is no hindrance. Oh, now it is arising. But you are not being caught with it, now it is passing away. So you see how they are arising and how it is passing. How it is arising, how it is passing away. It's an insight. It's an insight that we grow by seeing hindrances. So hindrances are being used to develop wisdom. So it's a very interesting path actually. You need to, sometimes we get stuck, we get entangled, we start promoting that. So a little risk is there. But if you are a risk lover, you can do it. But certainly you need to have some amount of Kayanupassana, Vedananupassana, that skill. So you have fair amount of mindfulness developed through the body. And then, of course, you are not that just a beginner. You have some hands-on experience. You can definitely try that. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Just take the mic. Yeah.
Sorry, I was curious about all these three. It's like you were asking to observe, and also the thoughts are also coming, right? It's basically distracted. So, is it the same mind that has the observing capacity as well as this generating capacity?
Yeah, we can say the same mind.
Yeah. So now, when my mind is distracted,
right.
Is the observation process happen at the same time, or?
No, if you are talking more precise terms on the split-second level, so it is not the same. So it's you can't have two thoughts at the same time. Right. You can't have two actions at the same time within the mind. So it's this kind of a cognitive process going on. So it's almost like a almost like a nanosecond. Or we can't even measure it. It's so fast, what we sometimes call as chittakkana. We are the mind moments. So fast. So they can't have two mind moments at the same time. So since it is because of the higher speed the mind carries, so when there are various thoughts available, you still step back and you can watch it using another kind of a capacity within the mind. It is not thinking, by the way. Okay. Thinking is one type of activity, but observation, the silent observation, is another kind of an activity. So that's what we talk it as a mindfulness, where you have the capacity to step back and watch. So, but we can say it's the same process, same mind cognitive process going on. Say one split second a thought, another split second observation. Another split second thought, now another split second observation, something like that, but in a kind of a series way. And later what happens is, so these thoughts moments become weaker and weaker, your observation moments become stronger and stronger, so ultimately they disappear. So the whole mind is occupied with a stream of observation. So there are now the absence of thoughts, but continuously the observation is fairly happens within the mind, even without thoughts. So such kind of a capacity is there. Mind is a really, magical thing in that way, because it has all this kind of skills or potentials available in the mind. So that's why we are training it. We can get a maximum advantage or maximum benefit from that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Report number 5. Venerable Bhante, I am concentrating on the rising and falling of my upper body. When I am practicing, I feel that I am watching an empty space. Still, I can concentrate on my practice. Is it an illusion of my mind? Please advise. Much merit to you, Bhante.
So, observing empty space, we can't say an illusion, because typically it has to be a, kind of a wonderful, glamorous thing to be an illusion, because it has your own additions, your own sort of likes, dislikes embedded to some illusory type of thing. Then only we can say we being attracted to that. But typically if thing is very neutral, nothing is there, it's not attractive. So you slowly go to sleep because no activities are there. For you to be awake, you have to have a very sharp mindfulness. Now say for example, you are observing breathing. So in-breath happens, out-breath happens. In between there may be a slight gap. So when you are observing this gap, so there is nothing there. Basically very neutral, almost like a space. But assume that now the gap is increasing. So the incidents are less, in-breath becomes shorter, out-breath also becomes shorter, but the gap is now longer. So in the gap you have to be awake. So gap is not an illusion. You can't say the gap is an illusion. You can say you are fully aware of it. Nothing is there. So illusion is typically where, kind of a fantasy, fabrication, story. So that we can say as an illusion.
Report number 6. අවසරයි ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ. සක්මන් භාවනාව. වම දකුණ වශයෙන් සක්මන මෙනෙහි කරන් යද්දී යටිපතුලට දැනෙන ගොරෝසු සියුම් වැලි කැට පෑගෙන බව දනිමි. ඒ අතර හිත පිට යන බවත් එවිට නැවතී හිත පිට යන බව මෙනෙහි කරමි. නැවත හිත සක්මනට පැමිණි විට මෙනෙහි කරමි. පර්යංක භාවනාව. කයේ ඉඳගෙන සිටින ඉරියව්ව බලා සිටින විට පිම්බෙන සහ හැකිලෙන හැටි දැනි දැන් එය සියුම්ම වැටහෙයි. එවිටත් එම සියුම් තත්වය බලා සිටින විට නිදිමතට වැටෙයි. නැවත කයේ පොළවත් සමග වැදෙන හැටි බලා සිටින විට පෙර තත්වයම ඇති වෙයි. පහදා දෙනමෙන් කාරුණිකව ඉල්ලා සිටිමි. තෙරුවන් සරණයි ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේට.
හොඳයි. ඔහොම දිගට කරගෙන යන්න. ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් අපි මොකද මේ කරන වැඩේ ඒ තරම්ම කියන්නේ අපි තුල එකපාරටම ප්‍රීතියක් සතුටක් එහෙම උපදවන එකක් නෙමෙයි. මුලදී හරි කම්මැලි තියෙන නිසා. හිතන්න දැන් පිම්බීමක් හැකිලිමක් කියන එක අපි නිකන් චිත්‍රපටියක් බලනවා වගේ නෙමෙයිනේ. හරිම ඒකාකාරී ක්‍රියාවලියක් මෙතන වෙන්නේ. හැබැයි මේ ක්‍රියාවලිය තුල කෙලෙස් ඇති කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක එක පැත්තකින් අපි තේරුම් ගන්න ඕනේ නිකන් මනසට අපි කියලා දෙන්න ඕනේ. මේක දැනට උවමනාවෙන් කරන්න, මේක වීරයෙන් කරන්න, මේකෙන් කෙලෙස් උපදවන්නේ නැහැ. මේක මනස ආරක්ෂා කරනවා. මනසේ උවමනා කරන බොජ්ජංග ධර්ම, ඒ සතිපට්ඨාන ධර්ම ඒවා වඩනවා. ඒ නිසා සෑහෙන වීරයක් අවශ්‍යයි මුලදී. මොකද මේකේ ඉන්ට්‍රෙස්ට් එකක් නැහැ. මේකේ තරම් මේ සතුටක් නැහැ. හැබැයි පස්සේ මේක තුලින් සතුටක් උපදින්න පටන් ගන්නවා. ඒකට ඉතින් කාලයක් යනවා. එකපාරටම නෙමෙයි. නීවරණ යටපත් වෙලා හිත ටිකක් සංසුන් වෙලා ඊට පස්සේ සමහරවිට මේ පිම්බීමක් ගානේ සතුටක් ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. හැකිලීමක් ගානේ සතුටක් ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද අර නීවරණ යටපත් වුණා හොඳටම. දැන් ඒතකොට හිත නිකන් සෑහෙන දුරට සංසුන් වුණා. ඒ සංසුම් මනසේ ඔන්න ප්‍රීතියක් නිකන් හරි निराமிස ප්‍රීතියක් උද්ගත වෙන්න පටන් ගන්නවා. ඒතකොට ඒක අපි දැනගෙන හිටිය ප්‍රීතියක් නෙමෙයි. ඒක අපි ඇහෙන් කනෙන් අහලා බලලා ඒ විදිහට අපි දන්න මට්ටමේ ප්‍රීතියක් සතුටක් නෙමෙයි. දැන් අපි ඉගෙන ගන්න වෙනමම ආකාරයක සතුටක්. ඒක එතකොට නිකන් වෙනමම පැත්තක් අපිට නිකන් විවෘත වෙන්නේ. ඉතින් ඒක ඒ බඳු සතුටක් භුක්ති විඳ ගන්න ලැබෙනකන් අපිව තල්ලු කරන්න වෙනවා. ඒ තාක් ඉතින් අපිට කල්යාණ මිත්‍ර ඇසුරක් අවශ්‍යයි. පුදුම විදිහට උනන්දුවක් අවශ්‍යයි. මේ වගේ අපි හිතමු මේ පිරිසක් එකට ඉඳගෙන තල්ලු කරගෙන යන්න අවශ්‍යයි. එතකොට ඉතින් කොහොම හරි අමාරුවෙන් හිත බෑ කියද්දි අරගෙන යනවා. හිත බෑ කියනවා, නින්දට වැටෙනවා, කම්මැලි හිතෙනවා, නැගිටින්න බෑ කියලා හිතෙනවා. ඔය ඇති කියලා හිතෙනවා. ඉතින් নানা ප්‍රකාර නිදහසට කාරණා හිත කියනවා. හැබැයි ඉතින් කොහොම හරි තල්ලු කරගෙන යනවා. යම් දවසක එන්න පුළුවන් අර වගේ පොඩි ජොලියක් එන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට තමයි පොඩ්ඩක් ඇහෙන්නේ මෙහෙමත් එකක් තියෙනවානේ. අද මොකද්ද උනේ කියලා. ඊට පස්සේ හෙට පාඩියෙන් ඒක ඉල්ලගෙන. ඊට පස්සේ බය හම්බෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ වගේ තමයි ඉතින් අර වැටි තමයි මුලදී යන්නේ. පස්සේ තමයි පොඩ ටිකක් ඉතින් අන්න මනසේ අම්පමනක තහවුරු බවක්, ස්ථාවර බවක් ඇති වෙන්නේ. අද නම් ඉතින් වාඩි වුණා. ඒ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න එන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි දන්නවා කොහොමද මේවා මේ වලට මුහුණ දෙන්නේ කියලා. ඒවා තරණය කරන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා දන්නවා. ටික අපේ මනසේ නිකන් අර තහවුරු වීමක්, Taman තුල හොඳ මෝරපු ගතියක්, පන්නරයක් එන්න පටන් ගන්නවා. ඒ නිසා මුලදී පුළුවන් තරම් වීරයෙන්ම කරගෙන යන්න වෙන ක්‍රමයක් නැහැ දැනට. හොඳයි. Okay, please come. Can you, yeah.
About the thoughts and the absence of thoughts.
Uh-huh.
Now, if you are trying to observe something, you're trying to observe your mind or your thoughts. Isn't that right?
Can you repeat that last statement? You are trying to?
You're trying to observe. Now,
Right.
you said in the absence of thought,
Right.
so we stop thinking, but we start observing.
We can't say stop thinking.
That's the thing.
kind
That's
of
what I was a
deliberate
little...
Stopping is not what I'm talking.
Okay.
Allow the mind to think, but I have another ability to watch it. So this watching and thinking is two skills in a way. So now I am strengthening this watching part, observing part instead of thinking part.
So there's never a time there's an absence of thoughts, right? That's my question.
Yeah.
What is that time? How do you reach that time?
You need to experience.
Right, so there will be a time where you don't think at all.
Exactly.
Okay, so what is the mind observing then?
So that's the thing. Rationally you can't, how are we going to explain rationally? It's very much like, say, you are now say, you are like a fish in the water. Now you're born there. You are born in water, you are living in water. But if I go and talk to that fish and tell, okay, you see, you only know about water. There is a sky available. There's a moon, there is sun, there is breeze, all things are there. How can he understand?
Okay.
Huh? No, that's the thing. So slowly you may develop this capacity. So just by thinking you can't
there's no logical explanation,
that's
right?
The thing. Now, we can say a kind of logical, rational explanation also we can give, but you can't experience it, no. That's just a, conditioning your mind, which you have never experienced. You have never experienced thoughtless moment. So I am now trying to convince you it is available. It's something like I am talking to a fish which has never seen the sky, something like that. But it's a kind of that is where the trust is needed, kind of faith is needed. But you can do it through the practice. So practice will pave the way for you to have that skill. So mind has that capacity. So we believe that thinking is one essential part of the mind. We can differently interpret it as thinking is one skill available in the mind, but there's another skill, silent observation. No thinking at all, but very vigilant, very aware, silent observation, which is another capacity we have, kind of an intuitive awareness. We can give various names to that just to talk about it. Typically we can use intuitive awareness, effortless mindfulness, mere observation. So these kind of words are typically being used. Observing the void. We can say like that also. There are no thing is silent. You can observe various phenomena also, not necessarily to be a void. So assume that while walking, now we don't need to go to really deep states to understand this. Now say for example you are walking, mindfully walking. Suppose that you are slowly giving more prominence to this sensation, touch sensation. So physical touch sensation is where you give more prominence. So what happens to your thinking then? Thinking becomes weaker and weaker. Now it's almost like going far away from you. It becomes almost like a background thinking. It's like someone else is thinking or someone else is talking. Now say you involved in talking and you listening to someone's talk has a difference, no? And you listening to someone else's talk which happened far away, that's also has a difference, right? So it becomes more and more far away now, something like that. Now thoughts, thinking become far away now. It's not that disturbing, but your prominence is given to these physical sensations. So more you do that, more you give emphasis to that, thinking almost disappear.
So during, say, walking meditation, when you're sort of observing your feet and the rising, your movement.
Correct.
What you're saying is that is not interpreted as a thought.
No, not at all.
So that is just observing that action.
Yeah. Now, say for example, while this is touched, if you start thinking about it, that is also possible, but that is not encouraged. That is not we are talking here. What we are talking here is without generating of, say, rational thinking. How about having a kind of penetrative look? Penetrative look. You are simply curious about what's going on, but silent.
Okay.
A different kind of a skill.
Getting there slowly.
Good. Yeah. Dreamless.
When you're in dreamless sleep, I've read that our mind is in bhavanga. Right? So at that moment, you are not observing, neither you are thinking. So is it?
No. This is not bhavanga. We are not talking bhavanga. We are in full awake.
Okay.
So while walking, you are fully awake, but the mind not talking. Inner chatter is almost absent. There are no thoughts, but awareness is there. So just for the time being, just understand. So we have the capacity to have kind of a inner silence. Just as an aim, as a goal, have a kind of a direction. So, I mean, typically we think, I have to think, then only I can understand. But still there's another skill, without thinking, still understanding is possible. So that is where we say kind of an intuitive understanding, kind of an intuition, almost like electric. You saw it, done, taken the action, or you saw it, you got the solution. Mere awareness. You can say just the awareness. So your
situational awareness. Can we put it as situational awareness?
Yeah. So very much like impromptu, almost like impromptu, but you are in a full awake, aware, and mind is very bright, but not thinking. No, you are not mind not being conditioned by anything, but very aware.
Shall I go on?
Yeah.
Report number 7, Venerable Bhante. Sitting meditation. After few minutes, I can notice in-breath and out-breath clearly. Can notice the coolness of in-breath and warmness of out-breath. Noticed in-breath and out-breath happen prominently from one nostril. But I am struggling to maintain the consistency. Your kind advice highly appreciated.
No, you don't need to maintain any consistency. So you can't maintain. Say this changing of the nostril, it's up to the body. You have no control. So don't purposely try to control the process, the breathing process. You need to simply admit what is happening. So you need to step back. You need to take your hand away from the process. Allow the process to naturally evolve. Whatever the way, you are simply accepting. So assume that the in-breath happens from left nostril, out-breath happens from right nostril. And now you are trying to maintain the consistency. So it's a word mentioned. So does that mean you need continuously to have this kind of way? No, it can change.
The walking meditation, possible to maintain the mindfulness when touching the feet. But when I try to concentrate as lifting, moving and touching, difficult to concentrate. My concentration is not affected by external factors like noise, but internal thoughts. Some thoughts coming time to time and disturb my concentration. Expect your kind advice, Bhante.
So actually, different characters are there. For some external disturbances are the most difficult problem. Say maybe sounds, maybe someone else's sight, etc. But for some others, the inner chatter, the thinking is the most difficult problem. So I mean, these are nothing to worry. I mean, your savior or your refuge is the primary object. As much as possible, try to observe when it is possible. So slowly, the thinking may subside, thinking become weaker. So as we just discussed, it goes to the background. It will take time. You can't simply push away. You can't simply, suppress thinking. It's not going to work for a long time. You can try even that, kind of suppressing thinking, but not a kind of a healthy method. But better thing is allow thinking to happen, but you have a task. So your task is to pay attention to your touch sensation. Say while walking, your foot is touching the ground. There's a fairly gross, prominent sensation there. So keep attention there. As much as possible, keep attention there. Then slowly, the thinking becomes weaker and weaker. It will naturally happen. So you need to practice. The practice is the pathway to do it. It's a kind of a technique. It's a practical technique we are using. Rather than immediately trying to suppress thinking or stop thinking, so we are paying our attention to a physical activity. More we pay attention to that physical activity, more we give prominence, more we are carefully investigating that, investing more time in that, then thinking become weaker and weaker and ultimately disappear.
Report number 8. Dear Bhante, I would like to know how to manage attachments with family. How can we maintain a good relationship without being attached? Thank you for sharing your wisdom.
So now I have a good family here. Some is offering gilampasa, some is offering medicine, but no attachment. That's also possible. Not a not a bad thing. But on the other hand, when we have some understanding about ourselves, have some about self-awareness, so what my thoughts are, what my tendencies are, what my likes and dislikes are, what my preferences are, so then I understand my own kind of preferences, my way of looking at things, my way of likes and dislikes. So about my own skills, my own weaknesses. Then how about another person? He or she has the same thing, isn't it? So I have my own likes and dislikes, my own preferences. And he also has his own preferences. Then do I need to have a clash with it? Now say husband and wife. So husband says, I want to eat fried rice today. Wife says, no, I want to eat something else today. So the two differences, two different preferences. So do you need to have a clash? Maybe you can mix both together. Ultimately, things are being mixed now at the stomach. Actually, the opportunity has to be used in a way so that the kind of the peace being built, rather than we are trying to break up. Now people are trying to find reasons to break things. So how about uniting things? How about harmonizing? Even recently, it's, not nice to tell anyway. I saw that there's Kirindo something. There's a kind of a shrine being excavated in a some faraway place. So the Buddhist monks are claiming it's a Buddhist temple. Hindus are claiming no, it's a kovil. So even in Buddhist temples, kovil is available. So let's have both together. Nothing to worry. So they may come and worship the kovil. We go and worship the temple. So having a kind of a harmony. And maybe in the future, the kovil girl and the Buddhist boy get married also. No problem. So then the harmony will happen, no? Why are we going to separate? So every time we are finding a reason to be separate. I am the best, you are bad. I am a Sinhalese, you are a Tamil. I am a Buddhist, you are a Christian. I am so and so, you are this thing. I am the best, you are the... So we are simply promoting kind of a division among the human beings. So, but on the other hand, the mindfulness basically, it doesn't require any kind of a religion, doesn't require any kind of a division. We as human beings have that birthright in a way. We all have that capacity. So the practice, the Buddha's teaching actually unites us in that sense. So he is from Germany, but he can practice what the Buddha is talking. You don't need to be a Buddhist, born Buddhist in Sri Lanka. So that's the beauty. So what Buddha has taught is a kind of a universal Dhamma. We as human beings, everyone can practice. So that's why even in a family environment, so if we have that very fundamental understanding that we are human beings, we all have different skills, we still have different weaknesses. So how about forgiving that? How about accepting that? But living in the same ground. We may have different arguments, we have different viewpoints, but on the same table we can have the lunch, have the breakfast. So I think it's in a way how we are looking at things in order to have kind of a unity, not the kind of a division. So we should not promote kind of a division, rather we should promote unity. So Buddha's teaching is there for that. So to answer your question, so whatever the relationship, actually we can promote so that we can understand, okay, the other person also has his own desires, he has his preferences, not only me. Why should I only promote my desires? Why can't I respect someone else's desires, so someone else's preferences, his own cultural upbringings? So why can't I respect that? So there are interesting things that we as Buddhists, are we only think, so the Buddhism only have to remain? Only Sinhalese have to remain? These are very narrowing down the mind. So I also promote, now I am talking about the Buddhist. So are we only talking Buddhism only to Buddhist? Is the Buddha a Buddhist? So that's another interesting argument. Is the Buddha a Buddhist? So I feel that Buddha talks about something very universal. Everyone can follow it. Everyone can understand it. If you are very much like grounding yourself and putting enough effort, then anyone can practice. So likewise, whatever the mindfulness practice, also similar kind of a capacity is there. If you are putting enough effort, techniques are available, you can practice. Then slowly, one effect of mindfulness is this interrelationships. It's kind of a natural growth they recognize. First, we have the body awareness. Then we have the emotions and all these included. Then we have the general self-awareness. Then we have the social awareness as well. Then we have empathy. We can read the other's mind in the sense that we are become somewhat literate about others' thinking. What we call as the what literacy? Emotional literacy. Emotional literacy. So we can understand another person. So that leads to the very good, healthy interrelationships. So the practice actually develops that. But if we are simply superficially carrying all the load of, say, thoughts, thinking, prejudices in the mind, it starts dividing. You can never comes together. You can't have an accord with another human being because you get divided. You have so much of thinking, your own different views, it blocks you. But if you start practicing, it grounds you. It comes to the proper ground. You can sit with another person. You can talk with another person. You can understand another person. And you can understand another one's emotions. Then it is easy to maintain a relationship. And the main thing is, we can't expect everyone to think the way we want to think. We can't expect everyone to behave the way we want to behave. It will never happen. So that's what we typically expect, no? So say you are a teacher and you expect your students to follow the way you talk, to follow the way you advise. And you are the wife and you want the way to behave your husband as you like. You are the husband and you want your wife to behave the way you like. Is it going to happen? So we are different individuals. We have our own likes, dislikes. So mental patterns and all these things are going on. Very vulnerable situations. So I myself don't have my own ability to control everything. So how can I influence another person? Okay, I want you to behave like this. Impossible. So in that sense, we have to have some forgiveness, some space for mistakes, and ability to talk and understand. So likewise, the Dhamma in that sense have that ability to ground ourselves into the same level and talk heart to heart kind of a conversation and discuss and overcome all the problems, maintain the relationship and have kind of an harmony among a group. Now here we have around say 50-60 people here, but we all have our own different likes, own dislikes, own arguments, own viewpoints, but still we can participate in a very cordial discussion. No need to attack each other, no need to harm each other, because we are respecting each other's that differences. So it is not that we can make everyone to believe only one thing, everyone to have the perfect same genes or something. It may never happen. But how about respecting everyone's differences? So that's another way of looking at things. So I feel that is much better, and we can live harmoniously rather than trying to make the whole world flat. Yeah.
Report number 9, Theruvan Saranai, Venerable Bhante. When we experience something, example, seeing or hearing, if someone can separate the part which comes from outside and the part which comes by adding from ourselves, is that called Nama Rupa Parichedaya? I know we are unable to separate it at the exact point, but without going into proliferation level, if realize it, this part from my side, is it Nama Rupa Parichedaya? Much merit to you.
No, actually, your understanding is different, but Nama Rupa Parichedaya is something different. So Nama Rupa Parichedaya is a very primitive, I can't say not really primitive, but it's also considered as a Vipassana knowledge, where assume that you alone practicing and you recognize various forms, various element characteristics. And they are the physical different characteristics. It's hardness, softness, roughness, smoothness, heaviness, lightness, heat, cold, movements, vibrations. Now all these are physical characteristics. So how are you understanding those physical characteristics? Through the mental skills. So you are experiencing something physical and you are knowing them through something mental. Other than that, what is available? Nothing is available. So something physical is available and something mental is available. So you divide the whole so-called person into two different entities. So there are some physical processes, entities, and there's a kind of a mental processes, entities or whatever, and that's all. Other than that, there is no person, there is no being, there is no animal. So that's the Namaru Paricheda Jnana, where that the perception of animal, perception of a being, perception of a man, human, woman, blah blah blah, all are gone. What is available is simply Nama and Rupa. What is physical and what is mental. That's it. Now, the other part actually what you have added is something advanced actually. So more you are continuing your practice, now you are carefully observing what's really going on within your mind. Now you recognize various feelings. Now you recognize various, thoughts. You recognize various signs, perceptions. Actually, perceptions also not yet, say, the signs. And onto that thought, you add a little bit of another thought. You add another thought. You add another thought. Now, this is how we do the fabrication. This is how we do internal construction. Immediately what we got is a very fundamental image. Maybe a mental image. Maybe a thought construct. But we can't keep it as it is. We add so many little parts onto it. And then we constructed a huge thing. It has become a huge emotion. Say you got a simple feeling. Onto that feeling you added your past experience, your projections to the future and your present experience, blah, blah, blah. Then it becomes a huge emotion. So likewise, this is the kind of a construction that we do, sanskara. So if you can understand this process, so you become sort of detached from it. So what the hell is going on? Why am I adding these things? So you start, feeling little worried about it, or rather say, not approving that process. So you understand, so I am the one making this huge thing, no? It came like a simple thought, so I make it kind of a devil. Why should I do that? So likewise, you start disapproving that process. Now slowly, it becomes very less constructions. Now the thought may come and thought may go. Thought may come, thought may go. You are not interrupting that thought. So sankhara dukkha become less and less. You know the three kinds of dukkha? Dukkha dukkha, viparinama dukkha and sankhara dukkha. Sankhara dukkha, now you are slowly calming down, relaxing. So simply sankharas are happening, but you are not adding to that. So that's why that Venerable Adimutta is telling, Suddha Sankhara Punjoyang Tattaka Paridevana, something like that. Suddha Sankhara Punjo. So that means it's a stream of pure sankharas, pure constructs or pure phenomena. Other than that, nothing is there. So he doesn't add to anything. So they are coming and going. They rise and pass away. So why should I bother?
Sorry, what means sankharas are happening?
That's why now say, for example, now this, so all sankharas are whatever we can say, whatever phenomena which are born with certain reasons. Sankata, say Sankata Sankhara. So here I am referring whatever causal phenomena. Due to causes, due to reasons, things are happening. So whatever it is, say whatever physical thing is a causal product. Whatever feeling is a causal product. Perception is a causal product. A thought is a causal product. Say conscious moment is a causal product. So all are sankharas in a way. In general, we can call them as whatever phenomena, causal phenomena. So they are merely happening. So why do I interrupt that process? Something like that. Now say water flowing in a tube. So you can add a color to it. You can boil it. You can shake it. Why are you doing it? Can't you simply leave it as it is? So it is coming and it's going, mind its own business. So you mind your own business, it minds its own business. No problem. Something like that. So merely sankharas are happening, so you are not interrupting the process. So you are interrupting the process. Yeah, sankhara, yes. Yeah, come. Yeah. Now, please, you can participate.
Bhante, I think that sankhara, the word sankhara has many meanings, and the number one is everything other than nibbana is sankhara. Is it all right?
Yeah. Whatever the condition phenomena.
Yeah, whatever is condition.
So the nibbana is the only one typically say unconditioned.
And visankhara.
Everything else is typically called as condition. So everything else is what we go through. All the conditioned phenomena are the sankharas. Yes. Yeah. Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Report number 10. This is a long one. I'll go a little bit fast.
Yeah.
Thero and Saranai. Dear Bhante, this is a question which I have had for some years but didn't ask due to the fear that people would think that I am lying or perhaps out of my mind. Yesterday during the Dhamma Desana, I realized that these things may be mind-made fantasies. Some years ago, I lost a beloved member of my family and I was devastated. About 1 week later, I was lying awake at night and I felt someone sitting at the foot of the bed. The presence shifted to the head of the bed. I felt someone sitting at foot of the bed. The presence shifted to the head of the bed near the pillow, and I was so scared that I shifted towards the other side, rolled up the bed sheet and threw it towards the presence. I didn't feel the presence after that. The second incident happened about 1 month later after her death. Again, I was in my room around 8 p.m. when I heard the sound of a little girl. Maybe 2 to 3 years, crying, "Amma, Amma," I went to the window and looked out to see whether any child was outside. None of our neighbors have small children, and I asked my husband, who was in the room, whether he also heard the sound, but he hadn't heard anything. The third incident occurred close to the 3rd month almsgiving. It was about 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and a relative came to visit us prior to the almsgiving as she couldn't come on that day. She mentioned that she was going to the Pichamal Puja at Anuradhapura. We were sitting in the lounge area and I got a strong smell of pichamal at that time, but I forget to mention it to anyone at that moment. Later, when I recalled the incident, I thought maybe it was a signal for me to attend the pichamal puja. So I begged to my relative to take me, and I attended it with her. We didn't have any jasmine flowers in my garden at that time. When I mentioned these incidents to a doctor, she said that these are hallucinations of the mind, within brackets, sound, smell and touch, due to a grief reaction, which is what you get sometimes when you lose a close person. When my father died about 20 years ago, I felt a loving, warm presence enclosing me when I went to arrange a cupboard near his bed. This happened only once and about 1 week after his death. My sister had also felt the same presence at that time. She told me that she used to go near his bed from time to time to feel his presence. We both thought it was my father's presence. We hadn't heard of the grief reaction at that time. I mentioned these incidents to one priest and he was certain that it was a being. Since these were conflicting answers, I have not mentioned these incidents to many people, but yesterday after the Dhamma Desana, I think that they may be mind-made. Could you please explain, dear Bhante? Thanking you so much, and a meditating yogi.
Yeah, I also think it's mind-made. So basically the mind has the capacity to create all these things. Now say for example here it is mentioned, say closer to the third month almsgiving. So you get more memories about the person, and now it's again building up within your mind. So it can create a kind of an illusion into your mind. Now her presence is possible. So mind has that interest. Now say for example you are expecting someone so eagerly. Say you are in love with someone and you are wanting to see, you are waiting. Now someone is coming out, getting down from the bus and she is approaching, you come and go, you wake up and go, but she's not the one, it's a different girl. So but you felt that she's the one coming. So the mind can make kind of a conditioned to your mind so that she's the one approaching, she's the one there. So she's there. So this kind of a perception can be mind-made. So therefore, I mean, we don't need to call it as a being, but it is something that mind-made. Can't call it as kind of a hallucination, but mind can have this kind of a playing of magic. So when conditions are there, so we expect something to happen, so mind makes that to happen. So the way you think is the way you see, in a way, isn't it? So a kind of interpretation can have kind of an influence. So our trends in the mind, traits in the mind can color the picture. So therefore that's what we need to understand. How are we going to keep the mind free from conditioning? So the Vipassana in that sense give us that capacity to bring our mind free from at least to this kind of conditioning to some level. So we need to recognize. Say Buddha, I mean, I'll connect this with the interesting simile that Buddha talks about. Now say we have a cup of water, a pure water, and now we add color to it, a different color to it, dye to it, and now it becomes completely colored. Can you see your face through that? Difficult, right? It's become colored. Now suppose the same water, now you boil it, now it is boiling. Can you see your face through that? Still not possible. Now say water which is there for long time in a more pussy, more, how that fungi kind of algae kind of an environment, so everything become a more gloomy kind of thing. Then can you see your face there? Still not possible. Then how about it become turbulent? Still you can't see your face. I can't remember the other simile. So likewise, so when mind has the same thing, so if it is boiled with anger, you can't see the same thing. If it is colored through the lust, any kind of a desire, still you can't see the proper thing. If it is become more lethargic, more drowsy, more sleepy, lazy, still you can't see the proper thing. And if the mind is kind of restless, still you can't see the proper thing. For you to see the proper thing, what you need? Clarity, in a way. Kind of a silence, kind of clarity. So that is what the hindrance-free mind. So all what I have mentioned are the hindrances. The lust is something like coloring the mind. This anger is something like burning, kind of a boiling. The sloth and torpor is something like you have fuss or algae, that kind of thing. And the other one, restlessness, is very much like a turbulence. But if we are having all these away, now you have the complete, very calm presence, clarity in the mind. So that is the only one we can say a fairly unconditioned, we can't say still completely unconditioned, but to some extent at least a clear mind. A very, fairly unconditioned mind. Then only we can have the proper understanding. So that's why we need that kind of a calmness, free from all these different conditioning factors, influential factors, so that we have that inner clarity. So that inner clarity of the mind is utterly important. So that is what we need to promote in ourselves. At that moment, if you have some understanding, that we can validate it as a proper understanding. Not through that any of these other conditioning factors, under the influence of those conditioning factors, you can get not a thorough understanding or not a unbiased kind of an understanding. So I also like to sort of second what that doctor said. So it's very much like grief reactions that sometimes happen. Yeah. Okay, those are the questions that we have received. Hope there are no more questions. You have anything? You want to add anything? No? Okay, fine. Okay, then we'll wind up the session here and we'll have the Dhamma sermon at 4 p.m. Thank you very much for attentive participation.